On this episode of the podcast, I have with me Rashu Garg. He is the head of data products, which covers AI, ML analytics at Regions Bank. Really excited to talk about this. It's going to be an interesting topic. We're going to be talking about introducing technology to the org and measuring its impact and the kind of impact that it can have. And Rashu is got a phenomenal background within the data space. Excited to see what he's doing and innovating. Excited to have him on. Rashu, thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, Amir, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be part of this.
Absolutely. I know you work at Regions Bank. I think everyone kind of understands the context of where you're at. I think what will be more important for the context of the podcast is, head of data products. I know you cover a lot of different disciplines within that. Let us know what your responsibilities are.
Yeah, that's a good question, Amir. So I joined Regions about 2.5 years ago. Prior to that, I was at Capital One and Deloitte Consulting for the rest of my career. In here at Regions, I'm heading all of enterprise data analytic product and solutions for the company. What it really means is an end-to-end, deployment of machine learning, AI-based solutions, right from engineering of the data all the way to how do we operationalize those insights in the context of business processes like contact center, fraud, AML, marketing, and other kind of departments. So my group takes a lot of pride in actually deploying and scaling up analytics and insights really into the hands of the people, into their business processes, and making their life much more easier to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, there's so much that's changing with data. I always joke with people that back in the day, I was in the BI space with on-premise SQL Server. So to date myself, that's a long, long time ago. And it was really hard to deliver solutions that people wanted. And now with every imaginable tool, the questions have gotten more complex, which is phenomenal. And in the context of this podcast, I know we're talking about introducing technologies to the org. And I think what would be good, maybe from your standpoint, is when you're looking at, let's say you join your next company, your current company, past company, doesn't matter. When you're looking at making changes at the top level, obviously you're trying to measure the impact, the benefits. When you're looking at that, what are you looking to, at the high level, do? Because obviously, you're trying to establish an ROI, but you got to get buy-in. I mean, there's so many different moving parts to this.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it comes down to, quite frankly, impacting our customers in a very positive way. And that means a number of things. Creating a very frictionless, seamless kind of experience and environment for them as they go through the lifecycle journey with us as a bank. So right from, incubation of sort of product and services that they want to take with us, all the way to onboarding, servicing, retention, and loyalty. There are a number of touch points that we do with our customer day in, day out. And every single point of interaction, every single moment is, quite frankly, an opportunity for us to bring that full experience of the bank to that customer and really service them or meet their needs most effectively as we can, right? So the reason why I say that is that at the heart of it, any tools, technology, products that we do really have that one goal, which is really create that experience for the customer. And in turn, what we get out of it as a bank, we get more revenue, we get more loyalty, we get retention, we get better ROI, profits, everything around it. So as we look at tools technology, that's our number one focus. And, that's how we do things.
So I guess, the one challenge I think every technologist faces is balancing their desire for innovation, right? I mean, people get into technology to do exciting things, do new things. Balancing that with what's needed, what's practical. Sometimes they work in polar opposite directions. How do you balance that? Because obviously, the new thing is what, your team wants. They're excited. It gets them jazzed up to want to, tackle a new product or whatever. But how do you balance that requirement?
That's a good question. That's an interesting question. And, especially in the area of AI, ML, and analytics, there are newer set of tools, technology that are coming up almost every single day. New algorithms, new way of ML ops, operationalization of analytics as a discipline. And people usually gravitate towards trying to do the most sophisticated, the most advanced set of algorithms and techniques that are available there. And rightfully so. From a career point of view, from an interest and passion point of view, that makes sense. what I try to tell people, the team and cross-functional team is, you know, every problem requires a different way of thinking and a different way to solving it. Every problem may not require the most sophisticated algorithm. There's always a trade-off between how much you want to put in from an effort point of view and what you want to get out of it. So while there's a balance, it's a hard balance for anybody, and especially as a leader, to really have people focused on doing the right things and creating value, but also keeping in mind that there are areas where we do need to advance on newer set of tools, technology, algorithms that are of one passion for them, but also help us advance the company from an innovation point of view too.
And I guess the flip side is sometimes it's easy to get the stakeholders excited as well, right? Like, I mean, we have non-technologists who are stakeholders, and they hear the impacts of, let's say, AI or analytics within the industry, or they hear from peers at different companies what's happening, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, we can bring this in, we can do this." And then as a technologist, you're like, "Those are options, and here's the reality." I guess, have you faced that conversation where it's like, "Hey,
Absolutely.
bring that in"?
And those are all the right questions. If those questions are not asked, then quite frankly, something's wrong. So I think the biggest thing for me is always start with one idea, one big thing, which is going to create the really large impact value for the organization and prove it well. The best lead is an example that has been done at the company. And it, quite frankly, it gives us a lot of credibility. It gives us power of trust, of value, of people who are advocates of that product and solution, and then they are spreading that good word across the organization. It also gives our people a little bit of credence to their capability and testing it out. So, as an example, about 2.5 years ago, we did one great product for the company, and over the last 2.5 years, now we are doing about 12 of them, all based on AI, analytics, and data. So for me, it's about creating value all the way long and then proving back again and again and then scaling it up as we go up. That's kind of a discipline or a rigor that I apply in my org and my team as well.
Let's say you've decided, with the team collaboration, this project to introduce the technology. I guess when you're looking at the case where the team doesn't have, let's say, depth in it, right? Especially in the data space where there's so many, algorithms, there's so many tools that come out, and to pivot to that means there's an overhead to absorb what is new that you're implementing. How do you approach balancing the team? So obviously they still need to execute with what's there, but they might need to start looking at this future tool or whatever it is that we're talking about that's being brought in. How do you balance that? Hey, deliver with the old, but also, hey, this is something that's coming up in the future. We need to get ramped up on it.
Yeah, that's a good question, Amir. I'm glad you asked that question. So one thing is, just for probably everybody, data science, analytics, and especially as it relates to different functions within the company, is highly specialized. And it's probably saying the least over there. But if you look at the paradigms of data science and analytics, let's say in fraud management, in AML, which is really protecting the bank, to how you want to apply that in, let's say, marketing, cross-selling, market penetration, very, very different techniques, algorithms, tools, and technology, and everything around that. The reason why I bring this up point really is to establish that we've got to build teams, and we've done that here at Regions, build teams which are highly specialized in that particular area or function, because it's a combination of data science, product, analytics, business knowledge, as well as knowing your data, right? So that's one part of the question that I think I answered for you. The other part of the question is it's always a forward-leaning approach where you're looking at what's going on in the market. So as an example, when we started in fraud space, we had somewhat of a traditional set of methods and algorithms more on the reactive side to stem our fraud losses. But over about 2.5, 3 years, we have been able to really apply more sophisticated methods, advanced methods, and really apply it at the proactive side of originations, which is a whole new spectrum of real-time streaming, event-based architecture, and point of origination fraud application. So again, going back to the same thing, you got to start with something small but high impact, apply it, and then keep on scaling it, both from a scale point of view, but also from a value and impact point of view. And I think at Regions, hopefully, we've been able to demonstrate that pretty well as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about like when you're actually, you've got the green light, somebody's written the check, somebody's like, hey, we're going to go ahead with this project. Hopefully it's going to make a great impact. And you got to go back and talk about results. What are you typically measuring with ROI? And I ask because I know like when we're talking about AI and ML and analytics, ROI is tricky because it's not necessarily a feature on the product that people are going to go, oh, I see it. It's a report. There's a lot of plumbing. And in the end, it might be a subset of data that they're getting for all that effort. How do you actually, I guess, maybe measure that impact when you're going back to, talk about results and achievements?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And quite frankly, that's been one of our core mantras and really the core part of what we do. And quite frankly, Manu Mishra, who's my boss, he's a chief data and analytics officer. Right when he started at Regions, he established that as one of the first things that we need to do. I'll kind of talk about how we did that. So every data product that we do, one, we are really delivering the insights in the hands of the people, in their business processes, in the systems. And not only are we providing those insights embedded into their business processes, but also there's a lot of instrumentation, tracking, measurement, and management of that on a daily basis. So, the example I take it is Google Maps. It's a data product delivered, insights delivered in the hands of the people, real-time streaming, closed loop feedback, intuitive UI, all the good things that you want to see in a product. And that's the kind of product that we have been building out. Along with that, there is a strong level of instrumentation, tracking, every click that's happening, every engagement interaction that's happening is measured, is tracked, and thereby we are able to then calculate on the back end all the ROI, but also the engagement, adoption, and other kind of numbers around that. We're very, very proud of that.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously, within the context of when you're looking at banks and you're looking at innovation, obviously there's regulations and trying to find that competitive advantage. Technology is obviously making that shift. When you're seeing, I guess, if you go back maybe a couple of years, have you seen a trend for the appetite of the business to kind of invest more and be more forward thinking in terms of just how much technology they want to leverage?
Absolutely. And, I will say this, any technology, and especially in AI, ML, analytics, that can only be successful if we have got, one, the strong executive buy-in at the top, but also the business and the technology stakeholders all working together. Because it's not about just, hey, I want to create a report. It's about, I want to deliver insights and intelligence into the systems and processes that you are doing so you can take intelligent action right then and there, whether it's a recommendation engine or you're buying a product as a customer or an experience. You need to make a decision right then and there, and we got to be able to help with that. I'm very fortunate, I would say, and our organization is pretty fortunate in that regard. We've got immense amount of buy-in as well as support. I will say this again, to keep that support going on, you got to prove the value and keep on proving the value and do it more and more and more and scale it up. So I think that's the kind of rigor, discipline, and the value AI and analytics has to do for the organization.
And I guess when you're looking at your team makeup, and I think this is interesting because from the standpoint of a lot of times you're seeing technology come in and you have a current team, and obviously they're not maybe potentially ramped up in what you have, and you might need to go hire someone or you might need to bring the talent in from the outside. Obviously, people want to work on the latest, greatest, and they want to have that opportunity. How do you balance that, in the team perspective?
It's a good question. I think the key part of it is you've got to give the right kind of opportunities to the people, the team. And on the other side, leverage their core skill sets and capability. There are some people who are really, really good at business understanding, which is crucial and critical to analytics. Some people are really great at product management. Others are really awesome in statistics and quant-based methods and data science, algorithms and design. Others are in engagement and support and adoption. So you got to look at the team as not one skill, but rather a multitude of skills that they bring together and quite frankly leverage that in the most effective manner. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is, give the right kind of opportunities to people who want it and give them the platform and the basis through which they can grow their knowledge, whether it's training, workshops, pairing with other people, or otherwise. So I think both the dimensions are important because it's truly a team sport. And if we can leverage all the skills that are needed to make it happen, then only it'll be an effective solution for the company.
I guess just maybe final question for you is how do you stay abreast of all the changes, right? So I know you have to manage the team. I know you probably lean on the team, but how do you keep current?
I mean, I definitely lean on the team a lot. There are a lot of talented people within the team and across the organization who bring in multitude of skills, business, technology, data science, product management, modern infrastructure. So, we all learn from each other. Some of them are my peers. And I learn on a daily basis a lot from everybody. But the other part of it is, I think there are a lot of publications out there, a lot of courses out there. I'm myself enrolled in a master's program right now in furthering my data analytics and data science disciplines. Those are some of the techniques. I think right now there's a lot there which people can use to really advance their career, their knowledge and skills in whatever direction they want to take. So the opportunities out there. It's just about working hard, having the passion, and taking the direction in which you want to go.
Awesome, man. It's interesting because, obviously technology is ever changing and constantly providing opportunities for people. And when and how to introduce technology is probably as difficult as actually the implementation itself.
Yep, totally agree.
Absolutely. If someone wants to reach out to you and maybe pick your brain on something you've mentioned, is LinkedIn an ideal place to connect with you?
That would be perfect. Yes.
Okay, we will include that in the show notes. Make sure that everyone knows how to find you. And hey, thanks for being on. I think this is really interesting. Awesome chatting with you. That's it for this episode. We will be back again. Different guests, different topic. I always ask for two things. One, please, if you find a topic you want me to chat about, hit me up on LinkedIn and I can go ahead and hopefully find a guest to speak to. And secondly, if you like the podcast, if it's helped you, if it's interesting, share it. That's how we've been growing organically. And I can't thank you enough. Until next time. Thanks.